Today I'm going to talk about inclusion and diversity. So if you thought you were getting 4D inversions or anything like that, you're in the wrong room, sorry. But thank you so much for coming. I want to show you that we are a diverse workforce, that we do care, that we're privileged, we're clever, but I think we can do a little bit better. I think we can do a little bit more. When we do a little bit more, it doesn't just affect us at work, it affects us at home and in our community. And that has to be a good thing, right? Some of my talk's going to be a bit hard for some of you to hear. I get it, I've been there, I heard it, I put it together, I rehearsed it. And other bits I'm hoping are funny. So bear with me, and I hope you learn something. I hope that something in you changes, and I hope that when you leave here today, you feel a little bit different than you did when you walked in. So if you've been to any of my talks before, you know I have a disclaimer. This is a new disclaimer. I've written new words, so if you read the last one, you've got new ones. Again, I'm not an expert. I'm a geophysicist. I'm a leader as well, but I'm no inclusion and diversity expert. You might think I am. I've put a lot of work and effort into it. I've decided it's one of the things that are important to me for my well-being, for my family and for my work colleagues, but I'm not an expert. So when you go, oh, well, you haven't provided all the evidence, and I haven't. This is a talk about feelings. So for about 48 years, I didn't really know what feelings were, but I've learnt to sort of be buddies with them, and now I value them. So it is about that. It's my opinion, my life experience and research. But I know my audience, I know you all very well, so I'm not going to bore you either. I'm only human, and so are you. I'm not asking for perfection. James isn't asking for perfection. Society, we can't deliver perfection. What we're asking for is a little bit more, a little bit of a change from everyone. Hoping they'll give you some tips on what to do in the next 40 odd minutes as well. So one of the icebreakers that we're going to do this morning is, if you knew me, you'd know a lot of this stuff. You probably Google this and get this from about me, especially if you're my Facebook friend. But what don't you know about me? What is that unconscious assumptions you're making about me? Probably right now is that you know I'm not a good dancer as well. I didn't put that in there. What do you take around with you? How do you group? Our brains are only so big. How do you group similarities and differences, and how do you work with those, and how does it come through in your day? When do we stop and think, gosh, I only know the surface of somebody. Maybe they're having a bad day. I shouldn't approach them about this today. Maybe they're having a fantastic day and they can help me with all my problems. Work problems. Nobody can help me with my other problems. So if we imagine we only know a part of each other, but we work with each other 8 hours a day, luckily, because I get to see my husband quite often, otherwise I wouldn't, we don't really know each other. Now, there is a line about being professional and being friends, but professional maturity would demand, I expect, that we know a little bit more about each other and that we're thoughtful about that, mindful about that in our interactions. So, with the people around you, next to you, I want you to either introduce yourself, but I think you all know each other, or tell each other one thing about how you're feeling today. Be vulnerable, be honest, trust the person, that they're not going to be cynical and they're not going to have a giggle, or you have a giggle. Tell them something about the way you're feeling. I'm going to start. My brother had a baby yesterday. He's 45, his partner's 45. It's a little girl, and her name is Geophysical. I mean, her name is Aurora, so I am thrilled. But I'm standing up here in front of about 80 of my peers, managers, leaders, so I'm slightly terrified as well. Your turn with each other. Go. going to trust that all of that was about feelings, and even if some of it was, I'm really, really happy. And if anybody said, gee, I feel really sick because Marina danced, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. So why did we bother to do this? Why do we do icebreakers? Why do people welcome to country? Why do people stand when you're having a party and you're inviting people in? Because we care, because we want you to know that we respect you and your time, that we care about you as a human, as a colleague. We want to build or grow, if we don't know people, a better relationship with you. It might be self-serving, because next time I need something, you might be more likely to do it, but I don't think that's what's in the front of our mind. It's because it feels good. It feels good to know each other more. And when we're having a bad day, we know people will forgive us as well, so it's not just all about feeling good. Diversity, that's what we're here for, right? You're waiting for it. It's 15 minutes down and you go, when's the diversity part of the talk? Well, it's going to be very quick. It's important. It's the easy bit. I've been counted so many times over the last 25 years, 30 years of my work history as being a woman. Oh, she's the only woman in the room. Oh, she's one of 3,000. She's one of 100. Oh, she's half of the cohort. I've been counted, measured, graphed, tabulated, and we can do that, and we should. Now, because I've been counted doesn't mean everybody feels that they've been counted, and it doesn't mean that everybody recognises diversity. But I am here to tell you, and you're going to tell all your friends and family, the stats are in. We know about diversity at GA, officially. So diversity basics at GA, I'm going to keep going through, stats. Thanks to the wonderful people in Enabling Services for putting this really awesome diversity and inclusion strategy document 2019-22 together for us. Look how thin it is. They know we're busy. Why did they bother? Part of their job? Sure, they did it because it matters. The stats matter, the data matters. But it's here. It's here. We can read it and understand it. We can know it. What does it cover? My favourite bits are the unconscious bias parts. There's a couple of, and that's, just the ability of your brain not to think strategically and analytically and evidence-based all the time. We do tend to agglomerate things. We use our past history, our experiences, the way other people think. We tend to choose the easy way when it comes to diversity and inclusion. We tend to always believe our opinions are always right, and we very rarely test them. So what I've done is a few years ago, worked out what the two areas of unconscious bias that I'm the most worst at. What do I most generalise about? And these are the two, group attribution and group think. Partly because I think everybody's better than I am. It's probably true. But I tend to do that more often. So if one person in the team says the answer's A, I'll assume everybody in that group says the answer's A, and it's not true. So I've worked out rules, processes, taking time out, taking a deep breath, questioning it. And I also have a couple of great friends here at GA who will pull me up in a meeting, after a meeting, and just challenge me. Did you do what you set out to do? Were you being inclusive, and what bits did we get wrong? I really value that. But there's also a thing called conscious bias, and it's not on. We've known it's not on. And I'm here to tell you, you have absolute permission to call this out immediately, politely, maturely, but call it out if you see conscious bias. If you're concerned about what is conscious bias, look at the discrimination laws and look at the Public Service Code of Conduct. It's just not on. An example, because we're all scientists and work with scientists, sorry for the people who have to work with scientists, we overestimate our ability to change our own minds. Every minute of every day we overestimate that ability. As scientists and people who work with scientists, we know we're attention detail, critical thinkers, look for evidence, but somehow when it comes into this feeling side of thing, it just falls down, it doesn't work, and it doesn't. So we have to work a little bit harder. It is hard to realise where we go wrong. So the stats. GA has identified disability, gender equity, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders, multicultural, LGBTIQ+, and age as the key, at the moment, areas of diversity we're focusing on. Fantastic. That's a really great start, because we know if we can improve diversity and measures in one area, it has flow-on effects. We know that, stats are in, the evidence is in Google. You can do proper research as well, but it's overwhelming. Where we do well, multicultural, fantastic. We're nearly on par with what the Australian public look like, and we're not far off, all things considered, for the Australian Public Service as well. We also have a good representation of people over 55, and it's not going to surprise you, in some areas things are underreported. So we might not have the right facts for disability and LGBTQ and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders, and that's a long story which I'm not going to get into. And we're actually focusing at the moment on gender equity. So if you for a minute have questioned it, thought, I don't think it's a thing, I don't want to spend my time on this, I don't know why GA are spending time on SAGE, here's your stats. Okay, have a think about it and move on. Get on board. Feel about, have some feelings about it, because we're changing. We're changing really fast. We've put in some amazing processes and strategies in place. We've got people on board. There's an amazing gender community that are very active at the moment. There's also a call to action. There's a plan. Yay, I love a plan. It means we can do something about it. So something I'm going to ask you to do a few things today, and I only want you to do one. But if you could read the document or get somebody to read it for you and choose one thing out of the plan that you can do. One that works for you, that fits into a category that you can align to. Because imagine if we had 600 odd people. We're not all odd, some of us are odd. If we could have 600 people doing one little thing, it'd be awesome. And I know you can. That was diversity. I finished, over, done. Fantastic. Inclusion. It's the missing piece. It's the bit we tend to put in a too hard basket, or we think we're already doing really well. I'm a kind person, I'm a decent person, I treat people with trust and respect, is the internal dialogue, and yet we still have issues. So I think even though multiculturalism and age in the over 55s is well represented, I'd say that a lot of those people still feel there's something going on. What's the missing piece? Inclusion. I think that's it. It's the hard bit. It's the bit where we all have to do something. This is the feeling bit again. Inclusion takes effort. We have to feel, empathise, listen, look, invite, check in, engage, participate, turn up, be mindful, respond, do something, behave differently. If we do that, if we make those decisions in our workday, it flows on to our home life, but it means we value inclusion, we value generosity of spirit, we value kindness. Makes for a better workplace. I'm going to show you. I'm going to tackle the tough stuff up front. It gets better as we go on, I promise. Privilege. There's a common saying, privilege is blind. We don't know how privileged we are until we stop and really think about it. And even when we think about it, we don't realise how privileged we are. I did some Googling, because that's all the time I had to do it, but everybody in this room, because of the country we live in, because of our security of job, because of our wages, because of our background, everybody in this room is within the top 1% of what we'd say privilege in the world. We're all it. It's pretty amazing and really good. It's pretty damn lucky, don't you think? So I found this video probably about 5 years ago, and I know I've tested it with a few of you. A few of you have seen it already. It's American. Forgive me, I couldn't find an Australian version, and Paul Hogan wasn't available when I asked him to do one for me. But I want you to look at this, and at the end, I'll talk again.
Shoulder to shoulder, take off your backpacks. Basketball, line up, we're about to race. Hey, we are racing for a $100 bill. The winner of this race will take this, a $100 bill. Before I say go, I'm going to make a couple statements. If those statements apply to you, I want you to take 2 steps forward. If those statements don't apply to you, I want you to stay right where you're at. Take 2 steps forward if both of your parents are still married. Take 2 steps forward if you grew up with a father figure in the home. Take 2 steps forward if you had access to a private education. Take 2 steps forward if you had access to a free tutor growing up. Take 2 steps forward if you've never had to worry about your cell phone being shut off. Take 2 steps forward if you never had to help mom or dad with the bills. Take 2 steps forward if it wasn't because of your athletic ability, you don't have to pay for college. Take 2 steps forward if you never wondered where your next meal was going to come from. I want you guys up here in the front just to turn around and look. Every statement I've made has nothing to do with anything any of you have done. Has nothing to do with decisions you've made. Everything I have said has nothing to do with what you've done. We all know these people up here have a better opportunity to win this $100. Does that mean these people back here can't race? No. We would be foolish to not realize we've been given more opportunity. We don't want to recognize that we've been given a head start. But the reality is we have. Now, there's no excuse. They still got to run their race. You still got to run your race. But whoever wins this $100, I think it'd be extremely foolish of you not to utilize that and learn more about somebody else's story. Because the reality is, if this was a fair race and everybody was back on that line, I guarantee you some of these black dudes would smoke all of you. And it's only because you have this big of a head start that you're possibly going to win this race called life. That is a picture of life, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing you've done has put you in the lead that you're in right now. When I say go, on your mark, get set, go! If you didn't learn anything from this activity, you're a fool.
Is anybody feeling right now? Yeah. So what got me, 2 things I think, or I hope I remember the second one, when he said stop and turn around and look who's behind you. We all know we're privileged. We don't know how privileged we are, I think, sitting in this room. We behave privileged. I'll ring my mum in Herberton and say, this is what happened at work. Oh, they don't know how good they've got it. Canberra bubble, all that. How often do we stop and turn around and go, what can I do to level the playing field? Include somebody in this opportunity. Make up for all the rubbish that's going on with them at home. And I think James Johnson does this every day. And I think this is what 1GA is about. Turning around and saying, how can we be better at this? How can we be more mature in our privileged state? The other thing I thought was how enthusiastic people jumped around at the beginning. Oh, yes, I'm winning the race. Yes, I'm winning the race. Oh, oops. I didn't realise I was winning the race. And it really wasn't my race to win. It's a hard message to think about. It takes time. And I'd suggest you watch the video again if you didn't get it. I'm not calling you a fool. I know the video says that's not what I'm doing. I'm just asking you to think about things a little bit differently. Just in case you didn't get the message. That's what privilege looks like. And I'm not saying you didn't have it hard. Of course you had it hard. You had to go to uni, you had to study, you had your own family problems. You may have gone without food, you may have begged for money, you may have been, going through 15 homes in 2 years. I don't know that. You don't need to tell me. But I should behave in a way that assumes the best and the worst. So my behaviour is always professional and you always feel safe. I reckon I'm midfield. I don't think I'm at the back. I'm definitely not at the front. I'm midfield. And when I saw that video, it was the day that changed me. I've been brought up a Catholic. Oh, no do be. What would Jesus do? Has been the theme of my life, and I'm not embarrassed to say that. But I didn't really understand what that meant until I saw this video. And if you're not privileged, come and have a coffee with me, because I'm happy to help you navigate the race that they're talking about. Very, very happy to do that. So what can we do? I've made you feel. I know I've made you feel. Oh, we all started off happy and now we're all looking a bit sad. So what can we do? Because that's what we are. We can do growth mindset. Professionals who are clever. A lot of people who are really, really clever, and the people who aren't just clever also have amazing emotional intelligence. What can we do? We can ask for help. I asked for help with my presentation, and you being here listening to me is giving me help. You're supporting me. You're saying, I believe in you, Marina, you can get up there and do it. So thanks. Put it in your budget. Budget. Put a little bit of money aside, and if you can't put money aside, make time for improving inclusivity. Is it that simple? Yeah. Was it a surprise that I welcomed you in this morning? Did you feel special? Because that's what I wanted you to feel special. Did it cost me anything? No. Was I still terrified that I was going to have to speak in front of you? Yeah. But I thought it was really important to welcome you and do something a bit different. Tell you how much I appreciate you. I can do that at work most days. Some days I can't. Sorry, Kathy, for yesterday. Enabling services, HR, the diversity group can help you. Coaching, mentoring, EAP, buddies, coffee roulette, the social club can help you. Leadership conferences, budget them, not just for leaders. Diversity conferences and workshops. If you can't afford to go to one, run one in-house, get Gender to help. Join a network, an internal network, through the APS, IPA, professional networks, or in your community, because that will help you get a different perspective. It will also give you more resources. So when you join these networks, they often have lots of money for stuff like diversity and inclusion. Understand the code of conduct. Uphold it. Encourage others to. Use GA's values and behaviours. Know where they are on the internet. Check in on with them. Look at them. What all this has been leading to is me trying to explain that we're all unique. We all have a history. That history is unseen. We're all somewhere in that privilege race. So just being a little bit, it sounds so simple, a little bit kinder, right, Rebecca? A little bit kinder, maybe use your manners, will help someone get through a really hard patch at work, and even if it's not the work that's causing them the problem. Listen to people's stories, not necessarily what's said, how they tell you, what's not said, how quickly they need to run away. And if they're not going to talk to you, find somebody that they will talk to. Look for different and new perspectives. And I've got some great people in Mineral Systems branch that are full of new perspectives that I really value. I learn so much from the people I work with. In inclusive and diversity, I think they just don't realise that some of them are really good at it. But look for those new perspectives. Go outside your group, talk to somebody new. Go home and check with your child if you've got one, because my son's full of great advice. Research it. Listen to Sky News. Go for a holiday and have a chat with one of the locals in a cafe somewhere. Be self-aware through self-reflection. I'm not even going to tackle that today. But what I'd love to do is wear one of those pro things, cameras on your head, and video people and then send them the snippet so they can see what they were like during the day. Don't need to say anything, just send them the video. Plan to do something differently. Okay? Plan it, not just by accident. Plan it. One little thing. Something different. Sounds simple. I don't know. On GA, I mentioned this before. I think, and I haven't tested this with James, I think what he's asking us to do is things just a little bit better. To be mature, mindful and considered. That's fantastic, right? What a leader. What an amazing place to work if that's what he's asking us to do. Because that's what I want to be. I want to do that. I want to work at it. I want to be better at it. Because I enjoy what I do. I actually love what we do here. It's amazing what we do here. That's what we all need. So valuing science, valuing the data. Tanya's in the audience, so definitely valuing the data. Ensuring supportive stakeholders and fostering organisational culture. And I hope I've given you a few tips for that so far. Because it's a good thing to do for work, but there's a couple of reasons that actually is good for you. It's good to reduce stress and it increases your personal well-being. Yes, that's what I'm on for now because I'm in that over 50 category when the doctor keeps saying, you've got to come back and do a checkup. You've got to be less stressed, you've got to look after yourself more. Oh my God, it was so much easier when I was younger. Anyway, it's good for us as individuals. It's not just the right thing to do, it's good for us. Next time you walk past someone, and I know you know what I mean with this slide when I say you see someone drowning, try and do something. And I know we're busy, and I know there's no time, and I know that there's a chief who's demanding a minute in the next 20 minutes because he's got to do his own work. So you don't have to do it. You can ask for help, you can identify it, you can go and say to them, can I check in with you later? Are you okay? If you're not okay, should you go home? You don't want to go home, what else can we do? It's a 5-minute conversation. And what are you doing? You're saving someone's professional life. The things that can happen to people at work, and I'm talking about in society, not GA, can affect them for life. You stopping and helping them fix something in a moment can help them for life. So yeah, I love this comic. I would love a cubicle like this, James, and I want all those soft squishy balls, but they might get tossed around a bit. No, do, be, help. Anybody who's over about 45, do you remember do, be a do, be and don't be a don't be? No, okay, I'm the only one. Miss Romper Room had it right. You can Google it later, it's on YouTube. When we know there's a problem, we can do something about it. When we start doing something about it, we become the solution and we help. No, do, be, help. Care about their well-being. Ask how are you. Notice how people are working. Listen. Whole body listening is the little catchphrase my son's written in my notes to help me today. Whole body listening. I'm just going to fix this because it'll fall off. Yeah, it's a shame you're feeling like that. Yep, okay then, bye. Not whole body listening, right? Whole body listening is what I'm so happy to see you all doing today. Relaxed, nodding, shaking, disagreeing, agreeing, nitpicking, commenting, feedback. That's whole body listening. That's what we're after. Provide support, or look for and budget for or prepare for the support that's needed. Do something in the workplace, change it. Status quo, it doesn't work anymore. The next slide is my biggest secret ever. Nearly didn't share it, but my son said my talk needed a little bit more punch. I'm gonna have to share it. So forgive me if you go, oh, that's how she gets her own way. It's not about getting my own way. I'm so reluctant to put this up. This is about dissolving barriers. Know And anything that is a no kind of sentiment, body language, can't be done, not today, are all barriers. And in the race of privilege, some people have been taught how to hurdle over those no barriers and other people don't. We smack into them and go, oh my God. And it takes us 6 months to recover. My secret to getting what I want, to being inclusive, is pretty simple. Yes, and. So yes, it's an improvisational comedy rule, I admit it, but it works. For a year I was the president of the Australian Society of Exploration Geophysicists. Our main demographic were middle-aged, white, intelligent, hard-working men. Our next biggest demographic were people from overseas. I think we had around 20% women in it, but they invited me to be the president. I knew I had a hard job ahead of me. I'd been in those meetings for 4 or 5 years as a director on the board. I knew I needed superpowers. Yes, and I can tell you I've tested and tried in the most difficult circumstances at GA, the ASEG, in all sorts of different forums. Yes, and works. Absolutely works. So you can imagine James comes to me, Marina, we need this minute. It's going to the Prime Minister by 11. Yes, I just say yes to James. So we'll use a different example. Andrew Heath comes to me and says, we need to drill a hole, it needs to be done by Friday, and we need to do it safe, and we need to spend 15 million. And I test his assumptions politely, calmly, with compassion, inclusively, with a yes, that sounds like a great idea. And where did you get that idea from? And what else can you tell me about it? Actually, Carol already knows this secret because he does it to me really all the time, quite well. Yes, so that was a great idea you came up, and can you tell me more? Have you thought about the budget? Do we have to have it all spent by Friday? And if we can't do it safely, who would we have to report that to? It's not, can't do it, bugger off. Well, I'm allowed to swear. It's yes, I value you. I value that you've got a reason for coming to me urgently with this, or maybe it's not urgent. I value you that you've come to me with this. I'm listening to you. I'm hearing you, and I'm going to reflect back what your request is, and I'm going to ask you give me the same respect by inserting a little bit of, oh my gosh, what else could we talk about in this context, so that we come to a resolution that may be, in fact, what Andrew Heaps asked, which is usually what happens. He's not here, but just in case he asks, usually what happens, or we come to a better solution. We can't fix everything. I'm not asking for perfection, and there is no way that yes and works in every circumstance, but it's a really good place to start. I'm going to ask for some feedback. Did that make sense? Okay, excellent. It's a secret, and you practice it and you get better at it. It works. It works. So what have I been talking about for the last 40 minutes? I've gone on a bit long. Is organisational and professional maturity. Okay, it's not hard. I think we just haven't recognised that's what's being asked for. It's a growth mindset. So a couple of my wish list things I've put up here, in case you hadn't thought of something else you could help do when you leave today, please take one of these things if you could help. Take a minute to stop and think about people. 1 minute. Be vocal and supportive of inclusion and diversity, even if you don't know, even if you're not sure, even if you feel a bit weird. Please be vocal and supportive. Use mindful language, not gendered language, and please stop calling it the white paper. Let's call it the Northern Australia paper. I was in the Indigenous reference group meeting where a very senior person from another public service agency just kept calling it the white paper, and I think 20 people in the room flinched every time it was said. Just think about that collected history. What have people walked in with? Be mindful. There are different ways we can use language. And be less cynical. Trust me, cynicism is a lazy person's weapon. So when you think you're being cynical and / funny, some of us see through that. It's just, if you think of about a full balloon, it lets the air out in a really lazy way. Often we use cynicism if we're frightened of getting hurt or disappointed. Now, if that's the case, start with, I need your help because I'm afraid this will happen again. Much easier way for me to help, or each other to help each other. Just a reminder, yes, and we're not perfect, and yes, we can all do better. We're not asking for perfection. So we're nearly there. We've talked about summary, diversity, privilege, inclusion, resourcing inclusion, 1GA, no, do, be, and help. Yes, and organisational maturity. Oh, I'm a bit exhausted. So enough from me. I asked for help from my esteemed colleagues. Do you have a diversity cause that you care about, or in what areas does GA support you? And some of them even let me video them. So have a listen.
Being a dad.
Multiculturalism. Migrants.
Gender equity.
Multicultural.
Age.
Linguistic diversity.
Equality.
First Nations people.
Ethnicity.
Family commitments.
Access to education.
Gender. Parenting.
Thoughts and backgrounds.
Social isolation.
Flexible working.
Fairness.
Intersectionality.
Mental health.
Diversity.
Gender equity.
Disability.
Inclusion.
Chronic illness.
Languages.
Mental health.
Access to health and education in remote areas.
Fresh water.
Multiculturalism and LGBTQI+.
Smashing stereotypes.
Teamwork.
Mental health.
Violence against women.
Inclusivity.
Different approaches and backgrounds.
Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders.
Genuine Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander engagement.
Variety.
Sustainability. Parenting.
Inclusion. Stop violence against women.
Diversity, social mobility.
People.
The ability to be yourself.
Valued and respected.
Fairness in the workplace.
Being awesome.
Team player.
Empathy.
Awareness.
Being a good human.
Generosity of spirit.
Inclusive environment.
Diversity.
Diversity and inclusion.
And with that, I thank you very much for your time.